This Equipment World video is brought to you by Chevron Delo 600 ADF Ultra Low Ash Diesel Engine Oil. It's time to kick some ash.
Today we're here to talk about Rokbak. Rokbak is actually part of the Volvo group, so you know there's a big name behind it. But outside of that, I don't really know anything about what Rokbak has done to improve the trucks or what products they have coming to market. So without further ado, we're going to go interview Rokbak and figure out what's coming down the pipeline. So my first question, I'm just going to come right out of the gate asking the hard one. Terex, the truck line, was known to have some issues back in its day. And so after the Volvo group purchased it, Rokbak took it over. What are some of the changes you guys have made to the truck to kind of work on the reliability issues that kind of plagued some of the old Terex trucks?
Yeah, it's a great question, Brian. And, you know, in the spirit of transparency and openness, the older models, before Volvo acquired us, we did have some technical issues, some reliability issues with the old Terex articulated haulers. And what Volvo helped is they brought improvements in terms of process, in terms of product knowledge and understanding, and also access to people with some great experience in working on technical issues, technical solutions. And we had some great people of our own. But what we did have was a much deeper pool of resource to access. So with improvements in learning in terms of how we put the trucks together, with working closely with the suppliers and the learnings that we got from our Volvo colleagues, we were able to make step-by-step improvements in various areas of the old versions of the articulated haulers. And gradually we saw those improvements start to really bed in with the truck reliability improved, the truck uptime improved, and the most important thing was the feedback from the customers and from our dealer partners who look after the product has been very, very positive. And the tail of the tape is in the data that we see, warranty claims, failures of the trucks in the field. They're at the lowest levels they have ever been. So yeah, we've come from a position of having issues that we knew about, that we worked hard to resolve. Then with the addition of Volvo resources, new ways of learning, new ways of understanding on how to fix some of these problems, we've made some great inroads and made some great improvements on the trucks themselves.
I will say that's really good to hear because I was always a fan of the old Terex trucks. I thought they were really good trucks overall, but it was just the reliability issues that seemed to plague them. So to hear you guys have kind of come back there and bolster that side of it, that's really good to hear.
Yeah, and certain things like we had some problems with the transmissions. There was some undersizing on the old ZF transmissions on the 30-ton class. We had some problems on the 40-ton transmissions. So it's those types of things where we've learned, and we've done things like upsize, putting maybe the next size up transmission into the model where we were having problems. And it's that's given us that improved reliability and you know, really strengthening the product and making those changes.
So from what I understand, one of the improvements you guys made was actually a total cab redesign. Can you talk about some of the features that we're going to see in the new cabs that are coming on the machines?
I can talk about some of them. I won't reveal everything because we don't want to spoil it for the new customers and the existing customers when they come to see it. But yeah, what we've done is there's been a couple of reasons for doing it. Of course, it's always good to upgrade your product, to improve your product, to bring the latest technologies to bear. So there are elements of that, Brian. We've made some changes. We've introduced some of the latest electronic control systems and architecture. It does two things. One of it is to move away from technology that was getting towards end of life. As you know, technology is fast changing, especially electronics and electrical architecture. So we had to move away from componentry that was going end of life, but also we need to look to the future. And Volvo and Rokbak are going through huge changes in terms of future technology, especially on drivelines and electromobility. So we had to have an architecture and a base that we can use with this new cab going forward. So a lot of the changes that I'll describe initially is behind the scenes. It's changes that you won't actually see. It's in the black boxes, it's in the architecture that's behind the cab. That's where some of the biggest changes are. And it's really to improve what the customer interface and feel is like today, but also in the future when we introduce new technologies some years ahead. But also inside the cab, we've made some big improvements in the ergonomics and the layout. So one of the things that the customer will first see, the user will first see, is the dashboard is very different. It's a much more modern, much more up-to-date HMI, human-machine interface dashboard with some great information, some good clear symbols, some good clear machine condition information that the driver is getting. We've also improved the switchboard, the switching, the layout of the switches, improved, access to them, simplified. The Terex trucks, we were proud of having simple, and reliability was one of our bedrocks, and we've tried to maintain that. We've tried to keep the layout of the control system simple while making it more modern. So you're going to see some of those changes. And the other thing is we've integrated systems which used to be or would look like add-on. So some of the telematics, the connectivity systems, the payload monitoring, those are now going to be integrated into these new electronic systems, and they will be accessible through the new dash that the drivers will see.
Interesting. So it is funny because you talk about technology, and I would say the majority of what you just talked about was technology. And yet for those of us in the field that run these kind of trucks, you don't think of an articulated haul truck as being something that's super technology forward. I mean, it's a dump truck at the end of the day. So outside of kind of the telematics and the screen and some of that, is there any other components of the technology factor that you can talk about that the truck is kind of bringing forward and updating these trucks into the new age?
But before we get into that, I want to take a second to tell you about the sponsor of this video, Chevron Lubricants. Protecting your diesel engine and its exhaust aftertreatment system has traditionally been seen as an either-or proposition when it comes to choosing the engine oil that's going to protect your system. And that's exactly why Chevron spent more than a decade of R&D work developing a no-compromise formulation. Now, I don't have to tell you why a clogged DPF is bad news, but here's the real kick in the pants. 90% of that ash clogging up your DPF and then upping your fuel and maintenance costs, it comes from your engine oil. You might be thinking, why don't they make an engine oil with less ash in it then? You'll be happy to learn that Chevron agrees with you. They've developed a new ultra-low ash diesel engine oil that is specifically designed to combat DPF ash clogging. Dello 600 ADF with OmniMax technology cuts sulfate ash by 60%, radically reducing the rate of DPF clogging and extending the DPF service life by 2.5 times. Before you had to choose between protecting your engine or your aftertreatment system. Now you don't. Dello 600 ADF with OmniMax technology. It's time to kick some ash.
Is there any other components of the technology factor that you can talk about that the truck is kind of bringing forward and updating these trucks into the new age?
What you will see, and the way we've approached the launch of the new truck, it's going to be in two phases. Really, the first phase is the operator cab and the cab interior, and the elements I've just described. That's what the operator, the customer, is going to see and experience first. And then later, not so far down the road, the other parts of the truck, the overall truck design, the truck layout, is going to change as well. So we're doing it in a two-step approach. That's where you will see some of the other changes, Brian. That's where you will see some of the improvements in, for example, the drivetrain, the engine, the transmission. You're going to see some big changes there. I'm not going to get into them in detail, but you are going to see some changes in those major driveline components when we do step 2 of these new Rokbak introductions. Step 1 is the cab, which we've just discussed. Step 2 is the rest of the truck, which will come shortly behind it. We don't want to reveal too much because the new cab will be launched within the next 6 months or so. So we're excited that's coming. That'll be coming very soon. It's a 2024 product improvement. And then the new truck with all of the other new features is coming close behind it. Within 12 to 24 months behind it, you'll see the new truck.
Excellent. That's exciting stuff. So my final question is, you guys are coming up on your 2-year anniversary in the market here. What can we expect coming down the pipeline over the next 2 to 5 years from Rokbak? Are we going to see additional products added to the lineup, or just continuous improvements on the current products? What are we looking at?
So there's several things. Great question, Brian. There's several things that we're working on. We've talked about the cab, so the first thing you'll see in the next 6 months or so is the new cabin. But then as we go forward, we will be giving a complete update on the RA40 and then closely followed by the RA30. So there will be 2 new models coming out, replacing the existing models. We have been looking at another size of Rokbak. I won't go into in more detail, but you'll have seen the trend in the industry is moving towards bigger size trucks.
Sure.
The nodes above 40 tons are becoming more popular. So that's something we're looking at. I'm not going to say it's a definite, but we're looking at that. But then, being part of the larger Volvo group, we do want to be part of this journey to achieving zero emissions. So over the next 3 to 5 years and beyond, we will be starting to really focus on bringing zero emission Rokbak products to the marketplace. Across the whole of the group, our ambition is by 2040 to have all products zero emission, but we're on a much more, let's say, an accelerated path to achieve that much sooner. And we hope by 2030, most of the products in the family, including the Rokbak articulated haulers, will be zero emission. So that will be electric driveline. And we are looking at those solutions now, which can be battery with electric motor. We've also got, across the family, we've got hydrogen fuel cell powered products. So we're looking at all of these solutions, and we will have an emissions-free Rokbak product at some juncture in the future, but certainly within this decade.
Purely speculation, because you're in the articulated dump truck side of things. Do you see that side of the industry in where we are currently with our technology moving more towards battery technology, or moving more towards hydrogen fuel cells or compressed natural gas, something where we still have a fuel source out on the job site?
That's a fantastic question, and unfortunately there is no simple answer, Brian. There are three answers to that question. You can solve it depending on the size of the product, because it's a key point, and the duty cycle that, if the truck is running for 6 or 8 hours, or is it going to be used for 2 shifts over 20 hours? These have a big factor. You can solve it with batteries and electric motor. That's possible. We've already seen that in this product sector. You can have hydrogen fuel cells, where you're generating electricity using hydrogen and fuel cell technology. Or you can get it using hydrogen as a fuel, or HVO, almost zero to very, very low emission alternative fuels, which is more conventional. And really, you can find a technical solution with any of those today. You can work on that, you can develop that. What's going to drive it is where the customer is at, what the infrastructure that they have available to them. Is hydrogen readily available, therefore you can use hydrogen as a fuel, or is it not available, therefore the battery technology? And that's one of the biggest challenges facing us in Rokbak, facing all of the OEMs, is which way to go, because your R&D dollars, it's expensive to develop these new products. It would be great to develop the 3 solutions and then find out what the customers really want, but we're going to have to do a lot of work up front to really identify the correct way to go, that governments will influence. Are they going to have a hydrogen program? Are they going to develop more infrastructure to provide more charging points? So there's still lots of things to decide. Whilst the technology may be growing and maturing, we still have to decide exactly the way our customers, because our customers are global. They're based in the US, they're based in Asia, they're based in Africa, and they each may have a different requirement for what the zero emission product of the future may mean to them. So it's a really exciting and interesting time, and as I stand here, I don't have the answer, but I know we can find solutions, 2 or 3 separate solutions. But what one we settle on, or maybe we need to have 2. Today we have emission-eyed engines for the US and a different level of emissions for other territories. And it may be that that's what the end solution looks like. It may be that there is something different depending on where the customer is based. But it's exciting times. There's a lot of effort and work going into doing that. But as I said, the investment takes time, it takes money, and we need to be smart where we invest that. But what's very clear is that the leaders in our business are totally committed to this. This is happening. We are absolutely going in this direction. We've made that commitment, and it's about the smart people in the business finding the right way by listening to what the customers want, listening to what's available to them out there in the marketplace.
Well, Paul, awesome interview. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Great to meet you, Brian, and thanks for your time as well.
Well, thank you again for Rokbak being willing to come on the show and discuss with us what they're doing to the trucks, where they're planning on going, and what new future product updates we can expect. As always, I hope this helps you in your business. We'll catch you on the next episode of The Dirt.